Hi everybody, we're back today at the Shamrock Quilt Studio with more about our Barn Star Sampler project we're working on. We've gotten our main block, the Diamond Star, done. We've completed the Tulip Star. We've completed the Northern Star. And we've completed the Farmer's Star. But we need one more block to complete our border around Diamond Star. So that's what we're talking about today. Please join us and I'll tell you which one I'm going to do. And welcome back to the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Hi and welcome back. Today we're talking more about our Barn Star Sampler project we're working on. We have, just as a quick review, finished this Diamond Star block. It's a 24 by 24. It's the biggest single block I've ever done, and I love it because it's so big. But when you have something that big, I didn't want to put it together the way that they did because I want this one to be the star. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a quilt top with this in the middle and then creating a border around it of other quilt blocks from this book. And I'm using 16-inch blocks. And we talked a little bit about what these are going to be. I have 4 of each of these made. This is the Farmer's Star. This is the this is the Northern Star. I get them confused. And this is the Tulip Star. And we have 4 of these done already. It's going to take 4 on each, on each side to surround this with a border. So I need one more 16-inch block. And I wanted to choose from this book. So my choices are a Moroccan Star, the Friendship Star, or the Peony Star. And both the Peony Star and the Moroccan Star had lots of squares in them. And everything we have has lots of angles and points. So I thought that if we put a block in that your eye thinks of squares and not points and angles, that would be a little odd. So I've chosen the Friendship Star. That's this block right here. It's really hard to see because the way that they have done this block for this quilt is they've used lots of pale fabrics. I think the background is like a light print or a light blue, and then they've got white pieces with a design, and they've got a white piece with a little darker design coming all into a really dark middle. What I decided to do was take that middle, you can see it right there, and echo this middle. So I'm going to change up the fabrics so that we're able to use fabrics that we've already used in this block, that they just look a little different. So I'm going to put this here and talk about this just a little bit. So here's my sketch and here's the design in the book. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I'm going to do. The middle block is going to remain a dark navy, the same way our center is. And then the little pointed triangles around it are going to be the aqua fabric, and that's this one here. So that will mirror this really closely. And then the background for this, what's shown in the light blue here, is going to be white. And we're going to swap up this print here for our navy polka dot. That's this one. And we're going to swap up this white with the geometric design for our gray print with the polka dots. So we're going to completely swap up the colors, and we're going to change it from being very pale to a very bold star block on a white background. And that will make it consistent with the other blocks that we have. Now, the challenging part of that was taking this design with this fabric and this cut list and changing it all up to match what we need. And on these projects, I've found that when I start cutting fabric, I always get confused. So what I've started doing is making a list of all the pieces. For this one we're going to make, it's A through G. And then I put down what the book says it is, what I want it to be. So I was able to do that. And the only thing I had to swap out was in this block, they've used the same fabric here on the background that they use around the dark square in the middle. And I want that fabric there to be the aqua and not the white. So I had to break that out and put that in the aqua. That will be the only aqua in the block. So it'll be a white background, a really dark navy center with the aqua around it, and then the two elements that come off of that will either be the navy polka dot or the gray polka dot with the two colors. And I think that's going to blend in really well. That will give us, we'll do 4 of those, and that will give us 16 of the 16 by 16 blocks to put around this large diamond star. So it's going to be a lot of quilt blocks. And then our next step after we get those done is going to be decide what we want to do in the space between this and the blocks. And I think what it's going to be is we're going to probably put a white border around this, and then maybe use either the green or the blue to put a border around that, and then another white border to frame this out, because this is the star. And then we'll have to see whether we want a border around these 16-inch blocks. The more I think about it, the more I think we do. And I'll tell you my reasoning behind that. When you take these blocks, and it's going to be kind of hard for me to do, but we'll do it as best we can. I'll tell you what, I think I have an idea. We'll use this as kind of a support. When we match these blocks up, block to block, we're going to have a lot of areas where we're going to have to be either matching seams or they're going to come together. This is a really good example right here, where these will come together. This point does not match anything here. So it looks out of place. It looks pushed together. If we put a small sashing between these two blocks, it will break it up enough so that this might be the effect. And now we've got a break between this block and this block. And I think that's going to help us a good little bit to make each one of these blocks stand out and really grab your attention. So we may have to adjust the size, the total size of the border around this block to accommodate that. And I think the way we're going to do that is we're going to get our next 4 blocks complete. And then we're going to kind of think in our head, how big does that sashing need to be? And I'm thinking, just like off the top of my head, that our sashing would need to be as large as the smallest block in these designs. And I think that's going to be this one here. This is 1.5 inches finished. So if we put 1.5 inches sashing around this, that will be enough to really let them stand on their own. So then we need to accommodate that 1.5 inches sashing, how much bigger that will be. And there will be 3 of those across the top and each side. So that's going to be 4.5 inches. So we'll have to make our border around this 4.5 inches more. So I think we were talking about a 12-inch border before, so now we're looking at a 16.5-inch border, and I think the only way to do that is to put that color strip in the middle, because that's a border this wide, and that's just too much. But if we come in with a border in the middle that is a 3-inch border or 4-inch border, color border in the middle of 2 white ones, that could be very striking. That's the direction I'm heading in. We're not going to have any sewing today because I still have cutting to do. I kind of got a little off track with some other things going on and other videos that needed to be done. And I wanted to think through this really carefully about what that 4th block was going to be and how we were going to incorporate it into the design as a whole. Because I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole and make a block that I didn't like or that didn't fit with the others, and then have to scramble to figure out how we were going to put it together. At one time I thought about just taking this portion of this block and duplicating it for the center. But the problem with that is these are all really small pieces, and as we get further away from this, I didn't want the small pieces. I want a little bit bigger, something that's more in tune with these blocks to be more consistent. I also haven't thought about what the total size of this quilt is going to be. And so we're talking 24 and 16 and 16, 32 plus 12, that's 50. We're getting pretty big. So I think that that could be the max of what we want it to be. This is going to be a square quilt, and well, I say the design is going to be square. The quilt itself may not be square because I've got something interesting in mind to do with the backing of this, and that may require that it's a little longer than it is wide, but for the way it will display on the bed, it will appear to be a square quilt. More on that later. Today we're just working on that 4th 16-inch block. I hope this has been helpful to you, give you a little insight in what we're taking as the next step and the considerations for how the design is coming together. If you have any questions on any of these blocks or you want to see how they were made, check out the playlist for Barnstar on the channel. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. And as always, please consider subscribing and hit that bell notification so you know every time a video pops up on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching today and have a great day. Bye.